Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advance. This game was played in Grand Chess Tour Finals that's happening in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And here in this position with the white pieces, we have Pragg. He's playing spectacular chess. I mean, he's winning tournaments left and right. Will he be able to win Grand Chess Tour? Because he's playing against the top seed of the tournament, which is Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So let's see how he's able to do with the white pieces. With the white pieces, he starts with d4. We have d5, c4, e6, and knight to f3. We have knight to f6, g3. Now just going for bishop to d6. This is the Catalan opening here, bishop to g2. Castles, and just going for knight bd7. It is queen to d3, a very nice preparation. I mean, this is definitely preparation here. Just b6. Now just comes c captures, e captures, knight to c3, and now just going for bishop to b7. Instead of this bishop to b7, you could also choose to go for a move like c6. Absolutely fine. Here just knight to h4 you would face, and after rook to e8 you play this e4, and you cannot even go for this d. After d captures, you cannot even go for this knight captures and knight captures, because the thing is that if you go for this knight captures, then after this bishop captures, you're hitting two pawns at the same time. You're going to lose one pawn, and you don't want to see that happen. So here after this knight caps on f4, you're going to have to play a move like knight caps on f6. Knight caps on f6, and after queen caps on f6, your position would be absolutely fine. But here after knight to c3, we have bishop to b7, just developing the bishop and targeting that very nice Catalan bishop. Here just knight to h4, we have g6 now, not allowing the knight to infiltrate further with the moves like that. So here just we have bishop to g5, targeting that knight. Bishop to e7, rook to c1, and rook to e8. He's just developing all the pieces. Knight to f3, knight to e4, and now just finally moving the bishop back. You don't want to trade the pieces early on, because if you trade the pieces early on, the thing is that the bishop here is very strong in this position, and you might be able to do something about it in the future. But if you want to win, you definitely want to keep the bishop here. So here just c5, immediately striking in the center. Rook f to d1 and rook to c8 was played. Now just comes this queen to b1. A queen to b1 is a very nice resource that Pragg was able to find, still keeping in the tension here, just keeping the queen on the very nice diagonal. Somewhere along the line you might be interested in playing a move like b4 as well, and it's not very clear how do you proceed in this position. Here bishop to f6 was played. I mean, there are a lot of moves here. You can also go for this knight to f6, and the thing is that you can also trade, but you just improve my position. If you trade here, then the knight comes in the center, and you don't want to see that happen. So here just bishop to f6 was played by Maxime, definitely trying to throw Pragg off. We have knight captures on e4, d captures, knight to d2. Now there's a lot of tension here, and then the bishop as well. You cannot even go for a move like this, because just bishop captures, you don't even join my pawn structure. So here after the c caps on d4, we have knight caps on e4, and that bishop is being hit. So somewhere along the line, either you give up the light squared bishop, or either you give the dark squared bishop. I mean, it's your choice basically now, or maybe you can just do something else. But here just rook caps on c1, a very nice switch and zook, and you could go for a move like bishop caps on c1, keeping the tension. But the thing is that it's just you don't want to give your opponent a bit too much, because hey, just bishop to e5. Now I have centralized the pieces, and my position is very nice. Here queen to c2, you play queen to a8, and there is a lot of tension here. So after a move like bishop to h6 in this position, just getting the bishop to a very nice diagonal here, and just keeping the king at like in a prison. Here just knight to c5. Now just comes knight caps on c5, bishop caps on g2 first, knight to d3, and the bishop is being hit. Once the bishop moves, trying to threaten checkmate, you just play a move like f3, and maybe the game goes on with both players having equal chances. But after rook captures, here just rook captures, not going for anything crazy. Here just bishop caps on e4 was played, bishop captures, and now just going for this knight to c5. That knight on c5 is an absolute monster. You cannot kick it away. Somewhere along the line, you're gonna have to waste a tempo by playing a move like b4, and still you can play knight to a4 to knight to c3, and that would be it. So here after bishop to f3, those bishop looks very nice. But the thing is that here in this position, Maxime goes for a very brave decision. He chooses to give up the central pawn. I mean, he has 3 pawn islands, as you can see, and white has just 2 pawn islands. So the thing is that this pawn is going to become weak either way, so he decides to give it up for some counterplay. The best move in this position by the Indian standard, Indian is saying basically just go knight to e6, attack the bishop, and once the bishop moves, now you go for this bishop to g5, asking for a trade. Once bishop captures, knight captures, you play queen to d3, and after trading everything, this game ends in a draw. But here after bishop to f3, here Maxime says, I don't want to draw. Hey, just d3, take the pawn here and give me some counterplay. And here in this position, just rook to d1 was played, and after a5 in this position, you could choose to go for a very nice line, which will be spectacular for Pragg if he had actually found it. But the board pairs are very, very low on the clock. They are less than 10 minutes, and it's basically turned into a rapid game plus 30 seconds increment. And the thing is that here b4 is a very nice one. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. How is this a good move? Because what about this? I mean, it looks very nice, but the thing is that it doesn't work. You don't have any queening here, because after thing is that once you capture, this rook captures, and thing is that your rook is pinned, so you cannot even queen. After queen captures, you're gonna have to capture the rook forced, so there is nothing you can do. But after a captures, here queen caps on b4, you play bishop to d4 first, and now that bishop is very nice. And the idea is actually queen to f6, so that you can create some sort of a triangle here where you might be able to do something. And after a move like e caps on d3, now you play queen to f6, and after h4 not allowing a move like g5 in this position, you go for this knight to e6 attacking the bishop. Now queen to d2, and everything gets traded off, and most likely this game is a draw. But the thing is that, I mean, yes, the pawn structure is broken, but you are up a pawn, so you might be able to do something about it, but it's very difficult to keep that extra pawn with your pawn structure being shattered like this. So here after a5 we have e caps on d3 right away by Pragg, and just bishop to d4. So going with the same idea, king to g2, and now just going for this queen to f6. h4 still seems like a very decent move in this position, but here queen to c2 by Pragg. He says that the queen is on a very bad square. I want to be able to get the queen into the game, and no matter how I do it, I mean, maybe just this somewhere along the way, and this is I mean, not ideal, but you have to get the queen out. He just bishop caps on b2. He gives up a pawn to do that, but the thing is that giving up a pawn was the idea all along, because he just bishop to g5, and now if you capture, I just capture here, but you're not supposed to be capturing in this position. What you're supposed to play is you're supposed to play queen to e5. Just centralize the queen, keep an eye on your bishop. I mean, just centralize the queen, keep an eye on your bishop, and your position will be absolutely fine. But here queen caps on g5 was played by Maxime, and he gives Pragg some advantage, because here after queen caps on b2 you play queen to d8, just keeping an eye on the b6 pawn. But now you can play a very nice move, which is d4. And d4 is a very complicated move in this position, because now after d4 you play this very nice knight to d7, and this looks very passive. You have to understand, you're just keeping you're just getting in the line of queen, and you don't want to do that. You never want to do that. So here just queen to a3, and now after a move like queen to f6, your position would be very, very nice. And the thing is that what you want to play here is queen to a4, and after rook to d8 you play h4, and after h5 just rook to c1, getting the rook into the game. This pass pawn is very strong. You're gonna somewhere along the line put it on d5, which will be protected by the bishop, and it's gonna be a great pawn. And how does your knight get into the game? This is taken. You cannot go here anyway from here. I mean, you might be able to do it, but here knight to b8 maybe, but after d5, I mean, you have to come back, and I mean, I don't know how you get into the game. It's just very, very tricky. Maybe via this, but it's still very, very unlikely, because after this, I mean, two things are hit, and also rook is stepping in. I mean, it's a very, very complicated position. But after queen to d8 we have queen to b5 immediately by Pragg, and king to g7, and just h4 and h5. Now queen to c4 and queen to d6. And the thing is that Pragg is very much down on the clock. He's less than 3 minutes, and here Maxime has way above, I mean, 7 minutes, and it's going to be very difficult. It's going to come down to the wire here. d4 was played, attacking the knight, and just knight to e4 we have a4, knight to f6, d5 now, and now just comes rook to d8. And how do you stop the pawn? I mean, it looks like it's very difficult to stop the pawn, because now there is a very nice move, which is queen to c6. And the thing is that you cannot capture. If you capture, queen caps on c6, and after d captures, you cannot even go for rook captures, bishop captures, because now this pawn is very strong. And after knight to e8 you have to stop it, just bishop to e2. And there could be some ideas of going here and here, but the thing is that the main idea is just get the king towards the center, and your pawn is going to be very nice. You just attack these pawns, and I mean, it's a pass pawn. Knight is always going to have to remain there. Your position is going to be very fine. King to f8, king to f3, and you get the idea. But here after queen to c6 we have knight to g4 by Maxime, and his idea is basically to remaneuver the queen here to try and harass the king. But the thing is that it doesn't work the way he thinks it would, because here queen to b4 was played. Now just comes rook to e4, attacking both of these things, and I can always trade it. So here after queen to d2, trying to go for this queen to d2, engine does not like at all, because there is a very nice move in this position, which is queen caps on b6. And yes, you give me the pawn for absolute free. Yes, you can go for rook caps on d5, but after bishop caps on g4 and h captures, you play rook caps on g4. I'm going in this endgame. I mean, even if you trade off the rooks, I am up a pawn, and I'm definitely going to be enjoying that. But the trouble with Pragg was not actually that. The trouble with him was that now he's down to 30 seconds on the clock. Rook to e2 was played immediately. I mean, he was down to 4 seconds when he played this move. Queen to d4, and now Pragg was thinking. Pragg was really thinking about this move, queen to c7, because he touched the queen almost twice here in this position. And the queen to c7 is a very amazing move. It gives white so much advantage in this position, because here after rook to f8, and that just shows, I mean, Pragg's intuition is so nice that in 30 seconds he was able to actually spot this move. And he's saying that, I mean, this move is absolutely spectacular. But what he missed here is that after d6, now the knight goes rook to e7, and after this you have to find this queen to b7 resource, because here if you capture, then after d captures rook to e8, I mean, your position is completely winning. So I think somewhere along the line he missed some idea. He was not able to calculate it through exactly as you thought it would, and you know, with 30 seconds you cannot even blame him. I mean, you don't have that much time. But here after queen to d4, he instead going for queen to c7, which he almost did thrice, but in this position he goes for rook to c2 with 1 second on the clock, because he got 31 seconds after the increment. He got 31 seconds on the clock. That's absolutely crazy. And here knight to e5 was played. I mean, trying to just capture that and get the king to capture, so that king would come forward. But here is queen to c3. Now just knight captures, king captures, and rook caps on d5 was played. But here is queen captures and rook captures. And the thing is that you have a very weak pawn here. Yes, it's 3 to 3, but it's 1 against 2, and now you're gonna have to suffer for a very long time. And that's what Pragg has to do now. Rook to c6 was played by Pragg, trying to go after the pawns, but just rook to b4, defending everything, and just king to g2, king to f8, f3. Here just going for king to e7, and just king to h3, f6 now, king to g2, g5 in this position, and now just going for king to h3. And the thing is that if you go for this h captures after f captures, you have rook to h6. Does seem like a good move. You must be winning a pawn, but not really. Here just g4, and after f4 in this position, king to d7. And the thing is that I'm shifting the entire momentum towards here. I'm going to be pushing those pawns. If you capture this and I am able to get the king into the game more, then your positions may start to crumble, and I might be able to push that black pawn towards victory. So here after g5, we have king to h3, g captures g4, h captures, f captures, and king to f7. But the thing is that here rook to d6 comes, and it's the position is, I mean, really winning. But Maxime needs to find this move, which is king to e7, and he does go for king to e7. And after rook to c6, what you want to find in this position is rook to b1. And rook to b1 is a crazy move here in this position. Either you play rook to b1, rook to b2 is also fine, and I mean, king to f7 is also fine in this position. But I mean, he is very much down on the clock as well. But they have reached time control. It's move 52, so I mean, it they have sufficient time. But here rook captures on a4 was played, and rook captures on a4 here allows Pragg finally to be able to get back in the game, and he goes for rook caps on b6. We have rook to b4, now going for rook to a6, a4, and rook to a5. I mean, I don't think Maxime would have made this blunder, but he did, and now even Maxime is still again winning if he's able to find this rook to f4. Keeps an eye on everything. I mean, on absolutely everything. But here, rook to b3 check was played by Maxime. King captures, and I mean, this is now an absolute chaotic game. Rook to a6. Now just going for rook to f3, g5, f captures, king to d7. But after king to g4, both players here played a lot of moves. But after this, I mean, there is nothing you can do, because this game is ending in a draw no matter what you do now. And both players, I mean, this is just a draw. And both players here after move 74, an insane grind, agreed for a draw in this position, or this is a draw by insufficient material. And yeah, this was an absolute grind by Pragg, and Pragg really got lucky here, and Maxime had able to find those moves where he was completely winning in the end game. It would have been absolutely over for Pragg, but gratefully it did not happen, because he would have lost 6 points, and that's not good enough. That's not good. I mean, he would have to make a really hard comeback in rapid and blitz, and that gets very tricky. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you very much for watching.